I want to show you how I take a piano that sounds like this and turn it into a piano that sounds like this. Let's go into Pro Tools. I have been working on this track for a while now. I'll play it for you. This is a production music track. The album has a working title of Frenetic Chill. I don't know if it's going to stay that way, but the idea is simple piano, guitar, long held out notes. On its own, they would sound very sparse, but mixed with beats and grooves that have a frenetic pace to them. Now, this isn't exactly what I'd call frenetic, but I think you can get the idea. Here are my piano tracks, but we're going to go ahead and activate those, and I'm going to move back to the MIDI. Before we get too far, if you want an organic, kind of traditional piano sound, this really isn't the tutorial for you. But when I'm working on tracks that kind of lean into the electronic world, well, then all bets are off and you can do whatever you want to the piano. And instead of adding pads to fill in the space around my piano, a lot of times I like to take the piano itself, use that as a source, and then create some interesting textures, pitch effects, delays to give it its own space, but there's still a connection to the main piano sound. Here's the Meyer Felt. I released this last year. I absolutely still love this piano and use it all the time in my own work. What I like to use it for are in these moments where I really push the bright mix to where all those sounds come out of the hammers and then the effects, which I made myself with my gear over here. Now, this is going to be a tutorial about how to tweak and manipulate a piano sound so any piano sound will work, but would love for you to go check out the piano, and I'll put it on sale as long as the feathered flute is on sale, which I believe is through August 31st. If you just listen to the main mics and you turn off these effects, it's nice and warm and full-bodied, but with the bright mix on, you really hear the top end come out. And with that comes all the noise, but in a dense mix, that's what helps it cut through. But then I chose to throw in some of these effects to give this track some of that lo-fi, chill character. I love that chorus. And then the tape. And then the room. In context. If you're curious, this is what the drums sound like. Bass. Super simple. A rhythmic guitar part. And a lap steel part. I made a video about that lap steel and it just passed 75,000 views. It's my most popular video. Explain that one. And then this synthy weird part. Just kind of sitting in the back. Okay, so that's my main piano part. There's nothing special about it. Super simple chord progression. So what I did here is I duplicated it, and now we're going to focus on this ambient track. With all the processing engaged, it sounds like this. It's weird, but with the piano you get this. Let's take a step back and talk about why I would even have a part like this. When I'm writing a production music track, I like to break it down into my basic building block sections. In this case, drums, bass, the chordal featured item, which is the piano in this case. Then I have my other effects that are kind of swimming around in the back, or kind of weird stuff that's adding that otherworldly feeling to the track. But then I also almost always want something to glue it together that sits in the background. The easiest thing to do is to pull up a synth and have a nice pad that hangs out in the back. I like building that pad-like texture out of the DNA of another sound, which in this case is the piano. We'll go about one by one. First thing I did is I turned off all of of the main mics on the piano, and I just have the printed effects. This isn't a typical send and return type of setup. These are actually printed effects. So you have the chorus. Let's listen to this part where it really accentuates it. By turning all those up, I'm further separating it from the main piano. Now, let's see what I did next. I always love to add in some type of pitch effect. I'm going to demonstrate this using the Soundtoys bundle. They're amazing, and I highly recommend these effects. But the principle is the same if you're using stock plugins in whatever DAW. So I'll make sure to share why I chose each plugin. So let me take this out of bypass. That's a little crazy. And it's only crazy at that point where the piano goes high. But notice that I've taken this up an octave. Let's put these both at 0. If I bring the pitch up. And then right now I'm about 45%, but let's go all the way wet. And when you raise the formant up an octave as well, I don't exactly know what the formant is. Someone explain that to me in the comments. I'm sure you will. I mean, that's nut. Turn the drive up. I just want a little bit of that. And let's bring this back down. So what this is doing is it's further helping to separate the frequency spectrum of this piano from my main piano. Now, you could probably do this with another cleaner pitch plugin if you wanted it to be clean, but I like that extra dirt and grit that you get. Now, I'm using micro shift to give it kind of a stereo detuned space. So let's listen to this without and with. Certainly not as big of a change as the pitch effect, but I'm using this fat wide pads preset, which I use all the time, just to give it some extra stereo width. Now on to Echo Boy. Notice I'm just using the studio tape setting, so it's not the space echo or anything crazy. You can do this with any delay. And I'm not necessarily concerned about the time here. It's set to quarter note triplets and half note triplets. It's just this spaced preset that I've somewhat manipulated. But the point is, there are lots of delays with a heavy amount of feedback. Bypass. I'm also rolling off all the bottom end of the delay because I don't want the lower frequencies of this pad-like texture to fight with the low frequencies of the piano. I also went and got it as wide as possible, so we're just ever so slightly pushing the sound out this way. And then I ran it through a compressor because I want to take the sound and kind of make sure that it sits in this pocket so that I can keep it loud, which means I can keep it quieter and still be effective. When you use this function on the FabFilter Pro C2, you can hear when it's actually compressing. So I'm trying to bring up those in-between moments and so that it's not overpowered by the bigger moments when the chord hits. Now let's listen to it all together. Muted. Let's listen to these high parts. Muted. Same section. One of the main reasons why I like to take the original sound and tweak it like this is because editors often want to use our production music tracks with dialogue. And that means they have to bring the volume of the track down. But often the more musical editors out there know that pianos, guitars fight with vocals. So if they can either have the tracks, stems, they can get rid of it, or in the case of the work that I do, we always provide alternate mixes. So the first alternate mix for this track will be muting that main piano. Let's listen to that. It's really the only instrument providing the harmony, so if I mute both of them, that's pretty cool too, and usable, but if I bring back in the pad-like sound, it still feels like the track. Bonus tip, we're going to inactivate these, and I have already printed the audio because I'm about to go through the mixing process. It's close, but it's not quite there. Pianos are perfect candidates for what I did. They're also perfect candidates for transition and reverses because they just have so much sustain and body to the sound. It kind of sounds like it's in reverb before you put any reverb on it. So this is a trick that I use all the time. Let's check out this section where I'm dropping out for a bar or so and then coming back in. What I've done is I've taken this section right here, I have copied it down, and then I have reversed it. When I get into the refining part of my track, especially a track that's kind of electronic like this, I guess you'd call it that, I have reverse open all the time, and I'm just reversing things left and right. So here's what it sounds like when I take that section, flip it around and reverse it without any processing. With the other piano. With all three pianos. It's kind of boring, so I added duck. You all know I love duck. I'm just giving it some eighth note movement. I added decapitator. Look, I'm hitting the punish button, which is fairly severe, and I'm rolling off the bottom end because I don't want the bottom end to fight with the original piano. Just adds a little more character. It allows me to bring the volume down, and all that distortion helps it cut through more. It's not sounding so much like a piano anymore. Then I have micro shift. It's probably, this one's heavy shift. Oh, I like that. It's changing as it moves. And then finally, another dose of Echo Boy, this time with a dotted eighth on one side and an eighth on the other. Let's listen to it all. I like it. And that's how I make a piano less boring. If you like the sound of the piano and you're interested, go check it out at my website. I'll link to the walkthrough video that I released last year, 25% off through the end of the month. Take care.